Hey everybody, well here we are, it's August 7th, and as promised back in June, we are here today to talk about our school's reopening plan. So you've been sent a PowerPoint to go along with this plan, along with other links to documents that you're going to need in order to fill them out or to get more information. We've been working hard on this plan all summer as a district leadership team with our teachers and our school board members and other staff members. Understand that this presentation today is an overarching explanation as to how we're going to open up our schools. We don't really dig in, and I won't really dig in this morning with building specific ideas, just big ideas, and then when we have the parent forums next week, we'll talk more about how building specifically we're going to open our schools. So we decided to do this in a video form. I don't know how it's going to go with the slideshow. I'm hoping it's a little bit more entertaining than sending out a memo or having a long, boring meeting. And I'll try to be funny if I can. But seriously, these times have been difficult for everyone. And we want to make sure that we've given great thought to bringing your kids back to school in the safest manner possible, given the guidelines by the DOE and the governor's office. We've got plans put together. We think we've covered all the bases. Those of you that have followed the news will know that a lot of this stuff is not new information to you, new things that you will hear. However, we're going to be clear about some things that we're going to be doing in Old Orchard Beach. They're going to be a little bit different than everywhere else. So without further ado, I'm going to start my presentation. It's good to see you all again. First slide here, it's our checklist of the plan that we put together back in June about design and planning and monitoring, modification, and implementation and communication. We've got our green check marks right there for tasks we've already completed. And now we're creating detailed action steps to track and monitor the progress of our implementation effort. And then we'll communicate that criteria with you. So that's what's happening this week and next week. So we're looking forward to doing all of that. All right, so this is our RSU 23 school reopening plan and design principles. You know, we base them on equity, safety and wellness, agility and flexibility, being able to pivot quickly from plan to plan. And also what's really important to us was the sustainability of our plan throughout at least the first semester. And then achievement. We want students to receive in-person instruction as much as possible. Okay, very important. As you know, you received from me a couple of weeks ago a memo regarding the change in the school calendar. We have moved our first student day to Tuesday, September 8th. That's the Tuesday after Labor Day. And that's to give our staff 6 full PD days in order to prepare our buildings for traffic flow and spacing and health and safety and protocols so that we can work on those over and over before the first day we bring students in. Now realistically, that Tuesday is going to be a transition day for transition grades like pre-K, kindergarten, grades 3, grade 6, and grade 9. And then we're looking to bring back all of our students pre-K through 12. Beyond that, we'll be holding virtual open house at some point in this fall because we want to limit gatherings as much as we can. All right, so we're going to jump right into the meat and potatoes of this thing because I know there's things you guys want to know. As I stated earlier, the health and safety protocols, those aren't going to be things you haven't heard if you've been following the news. But the things you really want to know about the fall semester, we're going to be bringing to you in the next couple of slides. So here's the Maine County's risk of COVID-19 spread for schools. You know there's a green, there's a yellow, and there's a red based on the spread and community transmission. Surprisingly, the Maine DOE designated York County in green last week. We were expecting yellow all month long, and we got green. It's not going to affect our plan. We're going to move forward what we had because we had a plan for that anyway, and the next slide will indicate that. Okay, so here's the slide that we'd like to call the moneymaker because this is what you really want to know as parents. You want to know what our schedule is going to be on the fall based on the color-coded plans. Well, initially what we did was this. We developed a green plan, a yellow plan, and a red plan based on the DOE recommendations. Because our schools are smaller, our enrollment's low, and our square footage is big, we were able to figure out that we can bring in all of our students every day. Think about this. In the year 2006-2007, we had 1,000 kids in our district. Last year, we had a max number of 720. We've got plenty of space in our school to follow CDC guidelines in green to bring our kids back every day. However, even though York County got a green designation to start this August, and we don't know what the designation is going to be on August 28th, we are going to start school, as you can see in bold on the yellow tab, we're going to start school in our yellow plan. Our yellow plan is all students are coming in on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Wednesday will be a remote learning day, asynchronous, a social emotional check-in, and a deep cleaning for our buildings. So parents, this is what you need to know. You are going to have to find childcare on Wednesdays. Now, throughout the first semester, through the end of Christmas break, we are not changing our plan. I want you to know we wanted to give you some consistency and something that you can rely on that you know. So we are going to stay in this schedule at least until after Christmas, and then we'll reevaluate in January to see what our plan will be moving forward. Now, no matter whether we're designated green or whether we're designated yellow, we are going to stay with our yellow plan. So those of you that need to find childcare, it's going to be on Wednesdays. Gull Care will be offering childcare on Wednesdays for those of you who will need it, and we'll be providing those links to you in the future. Now, the only thing that could affect this plan is if we get designated in the red. If York County goes red, we have to go to remote learning immediately. So please keep that in mind. We're going to stay with a yellow schedule until after Christmas. Home on Wednesdays, full school on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Red would change that. That would make us go full remote. Now, on the other hand, if a vaccine were developed this fall, or if the virus would suddenly disappear, nothing that we're expecting, we could move back into our green plan, which is all students and every day, but the likelihood of that is very, very slim, and that's maybe something we could talk about moving into Thanksgiving. I don't think that's going to happen. So yellow plan, child care on Wednesdays. Now, for those of you that are not comfortable sending your kids to school under any plan, that's okay. We are offering a remote learning option. So we're offering something for everybody in Old Orchard Beach schools in RSU 23. For high-risk students and families who are not comfortable sending their children to school, we have provided a link that we have sent out for you today for you to fill out to choose the remote learning option. A couple of things you should know. If you choose the remote learning option, we're going to ask you to commit to that, at least for the first trimester, if that's what your school has in K through 8, or the first quarter if you're a high school student. If you wish to keep your child in a remote option, please understand that things like allied arts and other extras and specials we may not be able to provide to you or provide to you at a high enough level as your students would be in school, but we are fully offering a remote option for those of you that do not feel comfortable sending your kids to school at this time. Our parent survey indicated there's a group of you that would like to explore that, and we are offering education for every student in RSU 23. The next several slides will talk about health and safety protocols for our staff and students that we're going to need help with from parents at home. So what we're going to need is symptom screening at home, daily screenings for students and staff. I know that 85% to 90% of you indicated in our staff surveys you are very comfortable doing a health survey with your kids at home. That's great. We'll work with our nurses and you folks to make sure that at school your students also receive health screenings from our nursing staff if that doesn't happen. We're going to practice physical distancing. Right now the standard is if a student has a mask on, they can be 3 feet away from other students, but 6 feet away from all adults. Face and mask coverings. We're going to require face and mask coverings for all of our staff and students. We have acquired enough masks for all shapes and sizes for every one of our students and staffs, multiple masks for each person. So we're going to have a mask and all the PPE and face coverings that you're going to need to start school to stay safe, and we've already purchased those and we have those in place. We're going to ask for mask compliance. If you cannot wear a mask, you cannot be in the building. So students that are struggling with wearing a mask, we're going to have to figure out a way for a remote learning option, but within buildings we are going to have mask compliance along with mask breaks, and we're exploring that at the building level. Hand hygiene, requiring frequent hand sanitization and hand washing. There's going to be hand sanitizers all over the buildings, perhaps in every classroom, so that we'll be requiring hand sanitizing as you enter rooms, as you exit rooms, and as you enter and exit buses and the playground. So again, moving on to school clinics and health services we'll be offering all of you during this school year. Things you've probably already heard if you follow the news at all. The next several slides, I'm not going to tell you anything that you haven't already heard. That's why we put the schedule piece at the start of this presentation, because we felt like you would want to know that. We didn't want you to wait till the end to listen to it if you want to stop listening to me, if I get boring. But moving on to school health clinics and school health services. There will be a health services team in every building at all time, which means we're going to have somebody on our health services team in our buildings at all time, in all 3 buildings, to help our students and staff work through this program. And they'll be working with symptomatic staff and students and protocols for return to school after illness, and personal protective equipment and medical isolation spaces for those who need to get checked out and we're not sure about. So again, these next 2 slides, we're going to get into protocols for 6 students and 6 staff. There's a little bit of reading here. I'm not going to cover everything, but mostly parents and guardians will avoid exposing others by ensuring their child stay home if you have any signs or symptoms of respiratory illness or a fever above 100.4. And there's a link in there that you can go to report student illnesses with a flow chart. Students are not going to be penalized for missing school when required to stay home under these guidelines, for students to wait for their parents to pick up their child immediately. Any area used by a sick person will be closed until proper disinfection has been completed. All right, this next slide is pretty heavy. Expectations of testing positive for COVID ID. Basically, we're following CDC guidelines, and it gives us a bunch of regulations there to follow about how the school will work closely with you and the CDC to figure out how we're going to handle a positive test for COVID-19. You can read through this slide. I don't want to bore you with the details, but we all have expectations. The family has an expectation, the school has an expectation, our school health team has an expectation, and we'll follow CDC guidelines on the way to which we keep everybody healthy and the way that the student can work their way back to school if there is a positive test. Moving along to transportation, our parent surveys a couple of weeks ago indicated that many of you are willing to let your child walk to school or provide transportation for them. That will greatly help us with our physical distancing on our school buses. Right now, what we're going to do is we're going to ask that our drivers wear a mask and stay 6 feet away from all students. Students enter and exit the bus in different areas, so there's no traffic flow where people are walking by seats. We ask that students put on hand sanitizer when they enter and when they exit the buses. And masks will be required for all students to wear at all times on the bus. Now to our facilities cleaning and disinfecting. Again, no information you probably haven't heard if you haven't already read about it somewhere. Look, we're going to implement cleaning protocols, enhanced cleaning precautions. We're going to limit the amount of shared objects and materials, right? We're not going to be passing rulers around a classroom. As much as possible, we're going to limit any sort of shared materials, making sure students have their own materials and they're not sharing with others. If that's not possible, we're going to make sure that we sanitize all objects that are being shared so they don't get passed around in a way that could cause some sort of spread. We are working very hard at ventilation in all of our buildings. We have had Siemens Corporation come in and analyze our ventilation systems in each classroom to maximize our existing ventilation facilities so that we can increase outdoor quality ventilation by bringing in outdoor quality with our HVAC systems, increasing our air filter efficiency, and increasing our filter replacement cycles. We're also going to start our ventilators 2 hours earlier than we used to, like 4 in the morning, and then keeping them on for 2 hours later in the day than we ever have to maximize our airflow. We'll also be looking at individual classrooms, buying fans, opening windows, any way we can increase and maximize air filtration in each building within our district and within our classrooms. Every classroom is a singular space, and we are maximizing that process. We're working really hard to make sure that we can maximize airflow. We've also purchased thousands of dollars worth of stickers to modify traffic flow, to make sure the traffic is flowing in the same direction and people aren't crossing paths, and setting up spaces to set up safe physical distancing for all of our students, like you see in many stores you go into. Our buildings are going to look like that once you walk into them, to maximize social distancing, flow, and spacing between our staff and students. All right, on to food service and nutrition. One thing we all want you to know, that we're going to be optimizing our big spaces in each school in order to provide safe physical distancing for our students to be able to eat. To eat, you've got to take your mask off, number one. So we've got to make sure we've got at least 6 feet between all of our students so that they can eat safely. We're also going to be increasing the amount of lunch mods we have in our schools to optimize that space. We can use our cafeterias, we can use our gymnasiums, we can use the outdoors. We're looking at purchasing tables and chairs for the outdoors so that on nice days, people can eat outside and maximize physical distancing. And adjust our food preparation services and procedures to minimize any sort of share items. This is something that our food service staff has been thinking about for 3 months, and we are fully ready to implement safe food service and nutrition delivery for all of our kids. All right, gatherings, visitors, and field trips. We are going to gather virtually whenever we can. Faculty meetings, parent meetings, we're going to do that. I saw a funny meme on social media a couple weeks ago, and social media has been great to school administrators this summer. I want you to know it's been a blast. A real pleasure to go on my Facebook site and read the timeline every day. It's been a joy, honestly. There was a meme on social media saying school boards are having virtual meetings to send our kids back to in-person school. Well, that's sort of true. We're going to limit all face-to-face meetings as much as we can, whether there's school board, parent, faculty meetings. Anytime we can limit face-to-face meetings, we're going to do that because we feel like anytime we can do that, it limits the amount of exposure that people have for each other. So those are going to continue to go on. Though they're easy to poke fun at and joke about, as we've learned, we're going to continue those processes. Visitors in the building. We are going to limit any non-essential visitors in our building. Essential visitors might include police, fire, EMS, any delivery services, but those people are going to require to sign in and wear a mask. Any non-essential visitors are not going to be allowed in our buildings. Field trips and school community events. Field trips are not going to happen at this time. They are suspended at this time. We are going to do something virtual as much as we can. Maybe virtual student assemblies and virtual performances and virtual field trips where people are taking a virtual tour somewhere. Those things are going to continue to move on and move forward indefinitely. And now on to a subject that has garnered great interest in the media and on social media all summer long, especially for students in grades 6 through 12, and that's athletics and extracurricular activities. We have 2 more check-ins before the start of school from the Maine DOE to see what color our county's in before we start putting kids in groups and working out with them. RSU 23 is going to utilize Maine DOE, CDC, and Maine Principals Association recommendations to make final determinations of athletics and extracurriculars. Please understand that some sports and activities, the barriers aren't as difficult to overcome logistically than in others. There are going to have to be some very difficult decisions made, and we're going to try to do the best we can to get our kids involved in activities, but we have to do it safely, and we have to do it in a way to protect all students and staff. And if we can do that, we will do whatever we can to make that happen, but we have not made those determinations at this point in time. And lastly, I hope you've enjoyed this little jaunt with me through these slides in talking about how we're going to open our schools in the fall and our health and safety protocols and things we intend to do to open our schools. As I said at the beginning of this program, this is an overarching plan to reopen our schools in RSU 23. A couple of things to reiterate. We're opening up in our yellow plan. We'll have school Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Wednesday will be a remote learning day, asynchronous, a social emotional check-in, and a deep cleaning for all our buildings. And that's going to stay that way until after Christmas break. So plan on getting childcare for Wednesdays. Go through the slides, the health and safety protocols, transportation protocols, building protocols, how we're going to do traffic flow with our stickers, those big ideas that we have. We're now drilling down into ideas for each individual building and how we're going to plan those, because each building is set up differently and has different spaces. And those are things that we are working on right now. And that's why we want to have the parent and community forums next week. So we'd like you to attend those forums. We're going to send a link out with this communication to those forums. The Jameson Forum is August 10th at 6 p.m. That's a Monday. The LMS Parent Forum is August 12th. That's Wednesday at 6 p.m. And Old Beach High School is Thursday, August 13th. We'd like you to come. We'll have our principals there at each meeting and bring some questions to ask, any concerns, and we'll see you with those things. Thank you for spending some time with me today. August 7th is finally here. You've got your information. Don't hesitate to reach out. You all have my phone number. You've all got my email address if you have any questions prior to the Parent Forum. I hope you've gotten the information that you'd like to have. Again, this is for us about stability for you guys moving into the fall. so that you guys don't have to worry about changing your schedules up every 2 weeks. And we hope that we've given you the information that you need. It's been a joy spending time with you today. It's good to see you all again, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.